Hi, my name is Briar Wagner, and I did my presentation on water pollution. Water pollution is when water is contaminated with outside substances that make it no longer safe or usable for its prior or intended purpose. It puts millions of people's health at risk and puts environments and wildlife in harm's way, like coral reefs. It puts animals' health at risk as well. Waterborne pathogens and harmful bacteria commonly make people in poorer countries, well, everywhere throughout the world, sick, but it is especially prevalent in poorer countries where they have less access to clean water. Um, and in some cases, it can lead to death. There's 3.4 million deaths per year that are blamed on uh, waterborne illnesses. There's many ecosystems that are damaged and poisoned by pollution made from human facilities like power plants or farmland. To review, this was from chapter 11. Water pollution is any physical, biological, or chemical change in water quality that makes it unusable for its desired use. The pollution can come from point and non-point sources. Point source is one specified source of pollution, like the the output from a pipe or something like that, where non-point source would be something less specified, less uh, specific, I guess, like runoff from farmland, where it's coming from a broad area and there's not one point that's creating the pollution. Um, pathogenic pathogenic organisms can be transferred through polluted water and can make people and animals sick. Water can be polluted with organic and inorganic pollutants. Organic pollutant could be something like animal waste or oil, and inorganic pollutant could be something like metal. Um, and then there's also thermal pollution that can come from cooling systems where it changes the temperature of the water and can affect the ecosystem. Um, Developing countries also lack facilities to get regular access to clean water because water treatment facilities are so expensive. Aquifers are being contaminated by running runoff from fracking, fertilizers, and septic tanks, and many more things like that, where the runoff from it seeps down through the soil and is put it runs into the aquifers that transfer the water over time into bigger bodies of water. Ocean pollution is also growing quickly and overwhelming natural systems like coral reefs. But bodies of water like the Rhine River have been recovered from pollution, and there's always hope for other bodies of water to at least be improved by the amount of pollution that goes into them. Uh, Often, waste is processed through municipal waste facilities in three treatments. The first is called the primary treatment, where the solids are separated from the waste stream. The second is where it's called the secondary treatment, and pathogens are removed and the effluent is aerated and treated with chlorine to kill bacteria. There's some other methods for this as well. And then there's the tertiary treatment where metals and nutrients are removed and then it is put into something like a wetland. Some possible solutions for um, water pollution is on an individual level, it could be people just properly disposing of contaminants such as fuel and chemicals and their waste instead of just all throwing it into a landfill. And then also minimizing the use of potential contaminants like laundry detergent and pesticides, where it all ends up eventually running into larger bodies of water and polluting them. On a large scale, because so much of water pollution comes from larger industries rather than individual people, like large-scale industrial, agricultural, or transit operations, all of these operations could re-engineer how they dispose of waste and contaminants and how they use their water. For example, agricultural operations could plant field buffers like shrubs and things like that to keep the solids on their land. They could also keep livestock away from waterways with fences to reduce the amount of animal waste that goes directly into the water stream. And then they could also reduce the amount that they till their fields, because the more they till it, the easier soil erosion becomes, and then the soil, by extension, leaks into the water and becomes a pollutant of itself. For the transit operations, they could ensure that their vehicles, no matter if they're in or out of operation, are properly maintained and are not leaking damaging chemicals like fuel or oil out onto the roadway, where rain will eventually wash it into either sewer drains or surrounding bodies of water, becoming a contaminant. And then for industrial operations, they could reduce their general water usage, and then also input water treatment plants to treat the water that they do use, so that by the time it actually comes out of the complete facility, the water is already treated and no longer something that could further contribute to water pollution. Some benefits and limitations to these possible solutions. On the individual scale, there would be less general pollution from individual people, and there'd be increased awareness about water pollution and its effects on the environment around us. For agricultural, the agricultural solution, that would lead to cleaner waterways and could possibly reduce total soil erosion, which would help the farmers and help keep the waterways cleaner. For the transit operations, keeping their vehicles maintained properly, making sure they're not leaking, could reduce non-point contamination from roadways and anywhere else that these vehicles would drive, from leaking onto the roadway. And then for large industrial operations, there would be less total water waste coming from these facilities, and then also they would have reduced water usage. This would also, if they input the water treatment facility, then the water would be treated and cleaned before it ever even completely left the facility system. There are some limitations and downsides to these. For the individuals making sure to take care of their waste, there would need to be a lot of participants to make any sort of significant difference, because so much of water pollution comes from large organizations and facilities. For the agriculture, this would require funds to buy all the shrubs and buy the fencing and anything like that. And then they would also need the time to reorganize their farmland to put in the shrubs or to put in the fences, where they could be spending it doing something else that would cause further profit for their farm instead. For the transit operations, it would take extra time. They would have to bring the vehicles out of operation more frequently to make sure that they're properly maintained. And this would mean less profit because the vehicles aren't out um, bringing profit into the company. It would also cost more because they would have to pay someone to maintain these vehicles. And then for the industrial operations, water treatment plants and facilities are very costly, and there's no real incentive for any of these really, because it's so expensive and time consuming. And then reducing their water usage would require rethinking how their entire facility runs because they already operate using the amount of water they do. So by reducing it, they would have to not only rethink how they do it, but then also implement these new processes to both the actual system and then the employees that run it. In summary, water pollution is when outside contaminants, organic or inorganic, cause water to no longer be safe or usable for its prior intention. Water can be polluted from either point or non-point sources. The aquifers and the ocean are being contaminated by fracking and runoff and human and animal waste and a million other pollutants. But bodies of water have been recovered before, and they can be recovered or at least improved in the future as long as we actually put in a plan and stick to it. There are many different approaches to these possible solutions, and each one has its drawbacks. But any effort to help water pollution is good because even just one person making sure that they take care of their waste is just that much less of contaminants that could go and leak into waterways, causing just that much more pollution. But it will take the help of millions of people and the cooperation of large industries to be able to create a real change and be able to clean up some of these waterways that have been so aggressively polluted. That is all. Thank you for listening.